So one of the things that really has helped this and helped us use AI on campus, not only for ourselves, we've always had our team, the digital media team, has always had access to the Adobe Creative Suite. But about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we became an Adobe Creative campus, and that means that everybody on campus here at Seton Hall University, students, faculty, administrators, get access to an Adobe Creative Suite license. So this has opened up a ton of possibilities for us, not only in our own team, but when we're collaborating with other offices, students, even running workshops and teaching people. We always ran into the issue of, hey, I want to run a session here at the TLTC, or I want to help a professor out, and I want to show them how to do something really cool in media production, whether they're doing digital storytelling in their classes to, instead of a student writing a paper, they're producing a small video piece, whether they're doing image editing, presentation design, all of those sort of things. It was always a challenge for us, because how do you recommend somebody? We're all creative professionals. We're used to working with the professional tools. How do we find either a free tool or adapt an existing tool that the university offers, like the Microsoft Office suite, which is great for the things that it does, but to give people that creative advantage really is something different. And having the Adobe Creative Suite on campus to be able to do that has been kind of amazing for us. It's just opened up a lot of possibilities with collaboration and everybody on campus that I can tell somebody and show somebody, like I'm going to do today, and say, hey, Photoshop is amazing. It has all these great tools in it. You can do it. Even if you're not an expert, obviously, you're just jumping into it, we can show people and teach them something new in an industry standard tool. And so I said, you can jump into Photoshop whether you're just getting started or you're an expert. I said I've been working here since 2007, but the first time I ever encountered Photoshop was in 2002. I was 17 years old, and I was taking graphic arts classes and doing a lot of stuff on the computer. And I don't tell the Adobe folks, but the way I got my hands on the first copy of Photoshop was probably not the legal means of getting my hands on the copy of Photoshop. Downloading a pirated version, which I think is like the rite of passage of getting into Photoshop, at least at that time. I don't know what people are doing now because it's a subscription as a service model, but Adobe has opened it up to have trials and free tools, so there are ways to get into it. But I think at the time, unless you were downloading music on like Napster or something, you were like me and you were downloading a copy of Adobe Photoshop 7. So I'd be lying if I didn't say that this picture of Adobe Photoshop from 20 years ago makes me kind of nostalgic, which is weird to say about a picture of a computer program, but that's where I'm at. So the first thing I ever did was, I always think when you're jumping into Photoshop, and jumping into any of the creative tools is, you can watch videos, you can read the books, you can do tutorials and stuff, but jumping into it and trying it out, that's the way that I always learned the best. And then I feel like specifically with the Adobe apps and the creative apps, it's the best way to learn it. If you open up Photoshop and look at it, it's not gonna hold your hand, it's not gonna show you what to do, not gonna give you templates, so you gotta jump in there and do something. The first thing I ever did at the time, this is 2002, I had a Subaru Impreza and I took a picture of it, and I cut it out, I changed the color, it was a black car, changed the color of it to blue, changed the background, did all this stuff, and it was amazing. And that's what started me on my creative journey, I guess you could say, and my love of Photoshop. And it was the first thing I ever did, and it took me such a long time to do, because at the time I had never seen Photoshop, and opening it up was like looking at a language I didn't even understand, but learning that and jumping into that. And the reason why I bring it up is that if I were going to do that today and take a isolation of an image and edit it and put it into whatever I'm doing, something we're doing here at work, if we're working in a classroom, or working with a professor, or even my freelance, if I was going to do that and isolate an image, change the color, and then put a different background on it, it would take me so much longer or so much quicker now than it did back then. And I'm going to show you some examples as I do a little live demo towards the end here, but it's a great way to illustrate the changes, and really echoes the sentiment that the students had said in the previous session, that it's AI right now, and I think the way that we're going in the future is a supplement to our work as professionals, and especially as creative professionals, taking away the more menial tasks in our work and getting to the creative part, the creative production. I don't need to spend an hour or something like touching up the edges of a photo, or making an isolation of an image. If there's a person, and I'll show you, if there's a person on the background, I want to remove them or put them somewhere else. Like, I know I can do that. It's just going to take me like the time to do it. But if the AI can do it and recognize the edges, and even if that's not perfect, if that gets me to 85% of the way there, and then I take it that extra 15%, and then finish off the work, the creative work, the production, whatever I do, that's to me the major benefit of AI, is getting me to that place where I'm ready to do like the real work on this. I'm not doing the smaller tasks that are really in my pre-production work, whether it's with Photoshop or anything else that we're working on. Even in Adobe Premiere, we're not going to talk about Premiere today, but we have our video editing team, and when we're editing video and we're bringing in, say we bring in a lecture from a professor, and they want to take this piece of the lecture or a certain part, or they say a certain thing. It's like, hey, I just covered this. I just want to take that portion of it. Previously, we'd have to watch the video, like Dr. Pastorini said in the opening. We'd have to watch the video and then find the timestamp. Now in Premiere, it'll do live transcription that it takes like a minute. It does it, AI-generated transcription. I could type in the term that the professor had mentioned, and I can go straight to that point, clip it, and then export it and be ready to have that. And that's not like, that frees up our team to be more creative, to work on the creative projects, rather than doing those smaller tasks and that taking time away from the creative production. So I said I've been working in Photoshop for a long time, and there's always been software-assisted tools in the toolbar in Photoshop, and they've gotten better over time. And with generative AI, it's really amazing the way that they've changed. So we start with like the clone stamp tool. We talk about removing something. Really what the clone stamp tool will do, and it's been there forever since I've been using Photoshop, is you can sample a piece of an image and then stamp it or paint it somewhere else. So the best example I always use and always see is taking, if I wanted to remove a picture, if a picture and there was like a stain on the carpet here, or if there was like something in the grass, like a blemish or like a divot or something in a picture, and I could just stamp the piece of grass over there, and then have it do that. And then Photoshop introduced the healing brush. The healing brush was just an advanced version of that, where it had a little bit of smarts, and it knew when you were painting over a certain portion of an image that, hey, you want to heal this portion and make it match whatever's around it. So for like touching up a picture of somebody, and maybe there's like a blemish on their face, or same thing, if there's like a mark in the wall or something, it could do it real quick. Then they added content-aware fill, which was that, but even just more enhanced, where you just selected what you wanted and you hit content-aware fill, and it just filled it into you. I remember seeing this in 2010 and being like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And it's gotten crazier and crazier, and now we're at generative fill, which I'll show you in the demo here. And this is what is part of the thing that has made a lot of the stuff that we work on a lot easier and quicker to do, because you tell Photoshop, or you don't even have to tell it, you just tell it, hey, do a generative fill, and it'll create, it'll heal, if I'm going to select something, it'll heal the portion of the image, or if I want to create something from nothing, I'm just going to type in the prompt, and Photoshop's going to do it. So in the Photoshop 2024 beta, all of these features are part of the beta, so there's a separate version of Photoshop where all of the AI tools are in there and accessible. You've probably seen commercials for Photoshop, and where they're creating I think the one I see all the time is like there's a library, and then they create like a rainforest scene and a river running through it, and they add a tiger, and they're doing all this through the generative prompts. Now, in the commercial, it looks real perfect. I won't say that it is perfect, and that goes back to the thing of this being a supplement, or it gets you to that point. All of the stuff that I've done with generative AI in Photoshop, or all of the Adobe tools, I'm going in afterwards, and I'm then making edits to it myself. So it's giving me that jump, it's giving me that basically what I talk about, the pre-production, right? It's getting me to a point where like I can now do the work on top of that. And I'm going to have to look at it. Same thing, we're talking about writing prompts, and the students in there, when they're doing their writing, it's for their research, and to get them to the point where they're ready to do their own work on top of that, or their own editing. So there's always going to be for me at least, and at least right now, maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll get more perfect, we'll see. But I think there's always going to be more a need for human interaction, especially when we're talking about like creative stuff. There's going to be, and I'll show you, it definitely isn't perfect, but it'll get us to the place that we need. So we can do things like make an entire scene by just typing in a prompt, adding a new background, creating variations of those images. So every time you do a prompt, Photoshop will give you options like 1, 2, 3, and you can see what it's come up with. You can reject them. I actually, the first time the other day, I rejected one of them, and I hadn't seen it before, but it asked me what I thought of that one. Why did I get rid of it? And I put in a little thing. So they're doing more enhancements and survey to try and make the tool better, obviously. But removing unwanted items is a big thing. One of the examples I have, I'll show you a picture of the green outside, and we can remove some items there really, really quickly. And then boosting image. Both Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom have the ability to do image super resolution, I think is what it's called in Lightroom. So it'll take images and then enhance the resolution. So if you have a tiny like postage stamp size image, Photoshop and Lightroom will make them larger so that you can either print them or do something else. Again, not perfect, and there are other AI image enlargement services that we've used. Corey from our digital media team for video as well, when we get old video that's like really compressed and it's the only copy that we have, there are services, and even in Adobe Premiere, you can boost that resolution to get something else. So some of the things that we talk about, use cases for what we're doing here, we're cleaning up images. So we do a lot of, our office, we're at the TLTC, we're focused on the academic and educational mission of the university and helping them out with creative production, but we also work with PR, marketing, and university relations to do a decent amount of marketing-related videos and images. So a lot of times we're working on images that are being cleaned up for the web or for video, and Photoshop and the AI tools have just made that a little bit easier and quicker for us to get to the point where, okay, this is ready for production, or this is ready for titles, lower thirds, things like that, so that we can get faster to the point of the creative work for our team. Extending images, quick mock-ups of new spaces on campus. So anytime someone comes up with an idea of what they want to do to transform a space on campus, sometimes before they go to like get actual like architectural drawings and things like that to see what a space might look like, we have in the past mocked up things in Photoshop. Like somebody says, oh, I want to put a big flat screen on this wall or some digital signage in this space. Like, what would it look like? We just did one last year for the University Center. We were talking about new like full wall signage and how would it look in this space. And previously, we would go in and composite images from like images from like a vendor of a digital sign, video wall kind of thing. But now I can go in Photoshop, and if it's just for an example's sake, especially for these, the AI generated ones are fine. They're just for somebody to get a quick idea of what it looks like. So I can marquee out a wall and say, okay, put a sign here or put a smartboard here. So we've used it for that sort of stuff, and also for slide generation and presentations, creating new images, creating new templates, using the AI to get us started. And then the big conversation that we obviously just had in the other room, but the implications both professionally and ethically. For us, I think it's about enhancing productivity and not replacing jobs for anybody. There's always going to be human interaction, especially when we're talking about creative work. And that's the way that I view it right now. I'm always going to have to look at whatever the AI produces, and I'm always going to have to either touch it up. So it's getting me to that point. And questions about, well, how should we use this? When should we use this? Who owns the creation? There's still kind of that little bit of a gray area. I will say that for our work, and especially for the stuff that we do that's outward facing for university relations, we don't use any, there's always been a big push for us to use, and even before AI, to use actual Seton Hall photography. So photography taken on campus with real Seton Hall people in real Seton Hall locations. We do use a little bit of stock photography, but now that there's AI generated stuff, and actually I think the thing in the beginning here, this thing is, that's an AI generated from the Firefly in Photoshop. I think I typed in, creative laptop with paint splotches on a university campus, and that's what it spit out. That's just a crop from it, but I thought it did a decent job of getting me to where I want. I think I typed in Seton Hall, and I don't think it knew what I was talking about. So there are things that it won't do, so you got to be a little bit more general. So yeah, so that's really the main thought, and I think that's the takeaway from the other room is that, and it's the main thing that I've always said. We've been working with Adobe, and so Adobe has another product called Frame.io, and it's a video sharing and collaboration. I was talking to the rep the other day about this presentation and telling him that, obviously there's the considerations of, well, is it going to steal somebody's job? Is it going to replace people? And he said he phrased it pretty well at what I was trying to tell him in that he said that it's taking away the things that, not that you don't want to do, but that are the more menial tasks. Like, so he said that it makes it so that when you're cooking, you don't have to do the dishes. If you really enjoy cooking and you really enjoy the art of making something really nice and something that tastes nice, but you don't want to do the dishes, the AI is what is doing the dishes for us in the sense of working in Photoshop and doing our creative work. So I'm going to jump out of these slides and into where I'm most comfortable, and that's within Adobe Photoshop. So I'm going to show you a few examples just so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about here. Just change my resolution here, hold on. So this is a picture of the campus green outside the new university center that was just built. So one of the things that we always get, and I talk about how we work with university relations to create marketing images, and sometimes we'll need to clean stuff up. Sometimes we'll be sent out with a camera and you got to go outside. I think this was right after like the building had just opened. We needed a new picture. But you can never, especially on campus, there's always something going on. And so in this picture, you can see there is these cones here. And this line of like the caution tape and stuff, kind of ruining the picture. Now, previously in Photoshop, I could paint over this. I could use the clone tool. I could use the healing brush. But what I'm going to show you is, so I'll do quick, if you're not familiar with Photoshop, quick on the toolbar here. But this is my lasso, right? And this is just my selection tool. So I can select anything. So if I go down here and then select this, I'm just going to do a small portion here. The great thing, so I'll select this over here. Now there are a million different ways to select something in Photoshop. This is just my quick and easy way to do it. And if I finish that, I get my marching ants around there telling me that's my active selection. Now anytime you do something in Photoshop now, you get this context sensitive menu, which is this bar right here. And when you're working with a tool that has AI assisted options related to it, it will give you the generative AI prompt. So right now it says generative fill. The tools right here are just related to my selection. But if I click generative fill, it gives me a prompt and I can type in whatever I want here. Now, if I don't type in anything, and you can see it says, if it's a little, it says optional. So you can just make a selection and don't type anything and then just hit generate. It'll work for a second and it'll try and figure out what you're doing. And it should take a second. And then what it's going to do is it's going to generate, because it knows what I want to do, right? When you don't put in a prompt, it thinks that you want to do like a heal kind of thing like that, a generative fill heal, and then it gets rid of that. Now you see it's got that 1 to 3, and it's got that stuff there. It gives me options. Now I'm just replacing this grass, so I don't know what the other options are going to be. Okay, maybe it's just a little bit of a texture. But the thing that's crazy about this, and it's real little, you might not even notice it, but like, this is, removing this tape and removing this stuff on top of this grass is easy and was easy before generative fill. The thing is, I crossed over this path and I crossed over a little bit of this light post. So you can see it fixed that as well. If I was doing this prior to AI and I was painting with the healing brush or the clone stamp tool, that path is going to cause me a little bit of a headache when I'm doing that because I got to make sure that the line lines up. Grass is easy. Grass is crazy and all over the place, and like you can take one patch of grass and replace it on another patch of grass, and you wouldn't notice it from looking from far away. But because there's that sharp line of the path, there's the little bit of the light pole, that would have been more work and to me wasted time on me or one of my team members as we're going through this because it's such a small thing in this image if I'm going to use this for marketing purposes. But it makes it cleaner, it makes it more professional, and to have the AI do those sorts of really quick edits for us without me spending that extra time. Now maybe it takes me 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get it right, But like you saw, I could just click, select, and then generate. Whoops, no, that's the wrong one. And then generate whatever I want there, right? So I could type it in. And I'll show you in a second of me typing in prompts as well. So generative fill, and then generate, and then it'll get rid of it. And so every time you do a generative fill in Photoshop, so Photoshop works in layers, so you can see up top there, it makes my fill here. So now I have generative fill for this piece and this piece. So it makes layers, so I can always go ahead and either edit this, remove it, I don't like it, but I always have those options to do it. Another thing that I'll show you before I move on to the next example, and this is also using the AI, but the AI selection, right? So Adobe has a built-in sky selection and a sky replacement tool, which is kind of crazy because if I were going to try and select this sky myself, like that would be kind of a pain because look at all this open space here, these really like, it's the same thing with hair, right? Like when you have hair and you're trying to isolate them from a background, the hair goes every which way and to try and make it look natural. Same thing with the leaves of a tree on the background of the sky. For me to have to select that myself, that's going to take a real long time. But Photoshop has a sky selection. It'll automatically analyze the image and say, this is the sky. But they also have sky replacement, which is the even cooler part that I'll show you. So, I'm on the wrong layer. So if I go to my background layer, where there actually is a sky, and I do sky replacement, it's going to take a second. It's spinning. And then now it gives me pre-made sky replacements that I can select here. And I can say, oh, what if I want it to be like this crazy like night sky here? And I can go ahead and select all of these different options if I just want a nice blue sky. So really, now this is where you get into the realm of like, okay, well, what is real in regards to photo manipulation? But it's a great exercise to show the power of Photoshop and what they've added. So you can see that kind of, the other one was kind of gray, it was an overcast day. But how quickly we can do those sorts of things. The next example I'll show you, is that the right one? Oh, well, I had already done the example, so I spoiled it. But so a lot of times we'll have images that need to be the correct aspect ratio. If we're working on a presentation that's going to fit a 16:9 screen like this, and I have an image that's vertical and I want it to fill. So we've done this for presentations, for professors, or for people in our office, or even the main gateway to the homepage to our university website. We have, it's wider than 16:9 images. And so usually what we'll do is have photography that was taken purposely with the focal point of the image on the right-hand side and a lot of open negative space on the left-hand side, so we can put a call to action, text or whatever. But sometimes we get an image that we have to use, and it has to be that image, and it's not the right aspect ratio. Photoshop, we have generative fill, right? So now in Photoshop, we also have generative expand. So if I pull up, so last time I pulled up the selection tool, if I pull up the crop tool, instead of the generative fill option, it gives me the generative expand option. So generative expand, what that lets me do is I can extend this image out, and it's going to analyze the background and say, and try and make it look natural. So if I wanted a wider version of this image, and you already saw it, but so I want the statue here to fall on those, the intersecting lines there, following my rule of thirds here. And then it gives me, it expands the canvas, and now I can do the same thing. I don't put in a prompt, I do generate, and it's going to say, okay, let me see what the background is, and let me try and make this image actually that. Now, not going to lie to you, this is kind of a perfect image to do it because the background is all blurry, and it's leaves, it's a repeating texture, but I've seen it do a really good job of this. I had one where it was a different picture of this where the buildings were in the background, and it did a really good job of expanding the windows farther than what they are in real life, and making it look really natural. So you see it gives me these options. I'll just see, yeah, that one's not that good. That's pretty good. You get like a harsh line here. So that's the thing. I might go in and then clean this up. Maybe like feather the edge here, make it look a little bit like either blurry or so it doesn't look as harsh. But if I compress it and bring it down, you can't see it. So another example of the tool in Photoshop here. The next one I'm going to show you here, this is kind of going to be a combination of what we've been doing here. But so object selection tool, so I've been using the lasso manually by itself to show you this, right? So the object selection tool is new in Photoshop, well, new in the last like couple years. And so what this does is, let me get on my right layer. So object selection, you can see how crazy this is how quick this does it. So that example I talked about where I took my car and made it, like selected it and made it a different color, like I went and did the pen tool around it manually, and it was not perfect because I was using a mouse and it wasn't good. But now you could literally just hover an object here. I could even get like as granular as down as like her backpack or her bag here. But I can select things, click it, and now I have an instant selection of this person here. But this is the example of, okay, I want to let the tool, the AI tool, get me to a point, and now I want to fine tune it. So I only want his jacket in this example. So what I can do then is, okay, I have the selection. It did the main bulk of the selection. But what I want to do is I want to now take my tool and put this. So what I'll do is I'll subtract from this. So I can go here, and I'm just going to remove, and I'm going to do this real quick. Remove. So I'm just going to remove his hands so that they're not part of the selection. And we'll go here. And I got to go down. Doing it live. Back up. So I just want the jacket because I did this and I was like, will this work? And it did actually work. Okay, so I have just the jacket selected. Now, say for whatever reason somebody asked me and they said, hey, I'd really love it if that guy was wearing a denim jacket. Let's see. So now I'm typing in a prompt to see what happens, right? I have just the jacket selected, right? I do, yes. So let's see. Well, I have his backpack too, so we'll see what happens. So generate, right? Take the jacket and let's see what happens. Take a second. And I have, yeah, okay. So, a little weird looking, right? But at first glance, so I'm going to tell you the things that I think are amazing about this, and then I'm going to point out the things that look really weird, because then you start looking at it and you're like, okay. Anytime you look at an AI-generated images, you could always look to like hands. Hands get weird, especially when you're generating an image. The thing that's amazing to me about this is the lighting, right? The lighting, the quality of the picture that it generated, the texture, it matches the scene like perfectly. Don't look at how it made his neck weird, right? His neck is kind of weirdly extended. It made his shoulders really like skinny, like cut him down a bit. I'm looking at like the texture of the jacket and the light in the environment. It's matched the color temperature. It's matched the brightness, the levels. That looks real to me if I'm just looking at the jacket and the texture of it. I'm not looking at the whole thing. That's what's crazy to me, and that's the thing that gets me there. So if I wanted to do this, this is again that starting point, that getting me to that portion of the image edit. Now let's see. I can see the three options that it gave me to see if it gave me something different. Okay. Yeah, same thing. I did some other ones. Let me see if this. Yeah, that's kind of like the same thing. I like this. It gave him a bracelet too. That's great. I think it found maybe that selection when I did it was a little bit off or whatever, and it had to hide like a real blemish in the cut that it made. But that's the thing that's amazing to me is how quick it does it and how quick it'll generate those things for you. So I'll go through some quick examples because I want to show some other stuff. These are pre-made ones, so I won't have to wait for it. So this is a picture of the university center, and I talked about like mocking something up, right? So I literally said like, okay, what if they have like a red carpet premiere here? And this isn't the most impressive thing, but to just do this stuff so quickly. So I just did a selection here, and I'll just turn this on because I already generated it earlier before this. But it's like, okay, put a red carpet in that space and let's see what happens. Maybe the students are doing like some kind of like Hollywood movie night and they want to see what it would look like. Yeah, it's just a red carpet, and I could have found the image, but if somebody asked me real quick and I needed to do this pretty quickly, it's super helpful. And it's the same thing I had talked about before of selecting a piece of an image and wanting to put something up here. So like maybe I can select this, and then maybe for some reason we wanted to change this to a whiteboard. I don't know why. Let's see what happens. But it's really crazy to be able to create these type of images, edit these images as quick as we can, using the AI to get us to that point. Okay, made it like a chalkboard kind of thing. Let's see what else. Yeah, okay, yeah. So when we talk about mocking things up, the other great thing that we do when we talk about healing images, this was a while ago, but we had a professor bring in some maps that we were scanning, and they were like old, like really beat up, and they were too large for our scanner, so we had to piece them together, and then we had to fix them, right, because they were ripped and crinkled and things like that. We were manually doing that with the healing brush, the clone stamp tool, but to be able to stitch them together and make those changes the same way I showed you with the generative fill to heal those areas and do a more exact selection rather than me just kind of painting with my mouse is a lot better and is kind of amazing. I know we're coming up on the end here, but this is my last example, and I do have a picture of my old car from high school because I found it in a hard drive like 2 weekends ago. So there's the car, and I'm going to do the thing that I did 20-something years ago and change the color. So same thing, we talk about the selection tool. It just made me mad when I did this because I think of me learning how to do it. Because I used to do it, and you know what, I will still do it, but I'll use the pen tool and I'll create a marquee around the whole thing and do a manual selection. And in Photoshop, I'll get a path that'll be my selection. But now, object selection tool, and I've got my car selected. And what I can do is on my context-sensitive menu here, this one will invert the selection. So if I wanted to select the background, but obviously I want the car selected. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm just going to fill it with a color. And I'm just going to fill it with blue. But obviously that's not how you're going to do it. But I'm going to use a blend mode here. So in Photoshop, on top of all my layers, there's this blending mode. So I'm just going to go to blend and then color. And now it's blue. Doesn't look quite right because like I didn't take away the windows. So I'm going to do that real quick. We'll get rid of the color on the windows, right? The color on the tires. Now, there is a more perfect way to do this, and I'd probably do it with individual selections using the AI to help me do it. But for the sake of demonstration, I'm just going to show you. I'll tell you, this took me hours to do when I was 17 years old, and I just got Photoshop fresh off of Napster or whatever I was downloading it on. Got it. Done. Get this. Okay. The car is now blue, or mostly blue. And then, but now, right? I could take it even further, and I could say, okay, I'm going to take my selection of my car. I'm going to do the inverse. Now I want to do something in the background. So let's do, I did like a racetrack before. What do I have here? Fancy automotive car. Showroom with shiny marble floors. Let's see. See what happens. So you can see how quick I'm able to do these edits. Oh, look at that. That's pretty good, actually. So here, again, the crazy thing of what it did, right, is, yeah, the car, it's the lighting, right? The lighting in the space, it's crazy, but, like, the reflections is what gets me. Like, that's wild, like, that it actually did that, because if I were to do that, like what I would do is I'd create my thing, right? I'd do all the edits to the car, and then I would make a clone of the car, and I'd flip it upside down, and I'd then start erasing it and doing like the blend modes and stuff. That's gonna take so long, and this did it actually pretty quickly, which is wild. Okay, and I get my options, and there's some other that's actually pretty good. I don't know. Okay, so that's the run through of the quick tools in Photoshop. But I like to give it like a live demo just to demonstrate how quick some of this stuff can be done, and just really how much more efficient, from my personal experience, that it's made me and our team when we're working on things. Because the things that I'm showing you are the things that, like, not that we don't need to do, but like we don't need to spend the time on those things. So we have the next group coming in here, so I want to make sure that. But thank you all for coming to this, and I hope we showed you something cool, and maybe you use Photoshop in anything that you're working on. So thanks so much.